Good day, students. This is teacher Shilpa Adkar. I hope all of you and your families are fine. In the previous chapter, we learned how the Constitution has strengthened democracy in India and brought about a social change. Let us study the second political science chapter, the Electoral Process. India got its independence in 1947. The Constitution came into force on 26th of January 1950 and made India a democratic country. Elections form the bedrock of the largest democracy in the world, that is, India's democracy. Election and representation are two very important processes in democracy. Modern democracy is a representative democracy. The entire nation cannot take part in the decision-making process. So, some people are elected on behalf of the entire population as representatives who will run the government. We expect that the representatives should be efficient, honest, and trustworthy, and they should respect the opinion of the people. The elections help to bring a change in power through peaceful means. The electoral process should also be free, fair, and reliable. To ensure that, the Constitution of India has made provision for an independent election commission and the state level State Election Commission to administer the election process in India. The entire process of elections, from establishment of constituencies to the declaration of results, is carried out under the direction and control of the Election Commission. The Election Commission of India. In India, the Election Commission is central to the process of elections. Under Article 324, the Election Commission consists of one Chief Election Commissioner and two other commissioners. The President appoints the election commissioners. The Chief Election Commissioner cannot be removed from his post easily or on account of any political reasons. This is necessary to preserve the independence of the Election Commission. A separate provision is made for the expenses of the Election Commission. There is no separate staff appointed to do the election work. Government servants, like government officers, teachers, and other employees, help in executing the process of the election. Functions of the Election Commission. First is preparing the voters list. The Indian citizens who have completed 18 years of age have the right to vote. For this, the citizen's name has to be included in the voters list. It is the responsibility of the Election Commission to prepare the voters list, include the names of new voters, and delete the names of voters who might have migrated or are no more. The Election Commission has the authority to issue identity cards to the voters in order to make the voting process more simple and easy. The second function is to decide the timetable and the program of election. The Election Commission prepares the election schedule. It decides when to conduct elections and in how many stages to hold elections in every state. The third function is scrutiny of the applications of candidates. Every political party selects the candidates for their party to contest the elections. Some candidates contest the elections independently without the support of any political party. All the candidates have to fill the application, which include information about themselves. The Election Commission deeply scrutinizes all the applications. It gives permission to eligible candidates and rejects the application of disqualified candidates. Fourth function is give recognition to political parties. India has a multi-party system. When many political parties compete for political power and more or less they are equally influential, the party system is called a multi-party system. New parties are formed and existing parties split up to form new parties. All political parties are required to be recognized by the Election Commission. It also has the right to derecognize any political party. The Election Commission also allots election symbols to the political parties. The fifth function is to resolve any disputes relating to elections. The Election Commission has the responsibility of resolving any disputes that may arise regarding elections. It can disqualify any candidate if found not eligible. The Election Commission can conduct re-election if needed in a particular constituency. Let us see to the process of elections. The first one, establishment of constituencies. Constituencies are created by the Delimitation Commission of the Election Commission. The Delimitation Commission does not succumb to any pressure while restructuring the constituencies. Second, finalizing the voters list. The Election Commission updates the voters list by including the new voters and deleting the names of the voters who have migrated or are no more. Third, nomination of candidates and scrutiny of their nomination forms. Some candidates represent a political party and some are independent candidates who contest the election. The applications of all these candidates are scrutinized by the Election Commission, that is, the applications are examined or inspected thoroughly. The fourth one is election campaign. Just before the elections, the political parties try to persuade and influence the people in making their decisions where their votes are concerned. The candidates and the political parties mingle with the people, prepare and present their ideas, and deliver their messages to the voters. Fifth point is actual voting. The Election Commission decides the entire process as to when and in how many stages election has to be conducted. Then a particular date is set for the actual voting. The sixth point in the process is counting of votes. The Election Commission announces the date of counting while issuing the notification announcing the beginning of the election process. The counting of votes is done under the supervision and direction of the returning officer of the constituency, the polling officials, and counting agents appointed by political parties and candidates for counting of votes. After the actual voting, the EVMs are kept in strong rooms pre-arranged for the same. Next is the results of the elections. The result must be declared on the date and at the hour and place specified in the notice of election. The votes polled against each candidate are entered, and time to time trends and results are declared through numbers, bar charts and pie charts. The last is resolution of disputes regarding elections. Disputes arise when the electoral action or procedure is legally challenged. Legal appeals or challenges related to electoral issues can be submitted before judicial or political agencies. Such a system aims at ensuring regular and legal elections. The judicial resolution of electoral disputes has become a fundamental feature of any electoral democracy. Next, we see to the restructuring of the constituency. Constituencies are formed in proportion to the population. There are 543 constituencies in the Lok Sabha and 543 members also in the Lok Sabha. Every member represents one constituency. Creating constituencies is the responsibility of the Delimitation Commission of the Election Commission. The Delimitation Commission does not succumb to any pressure while restructuring the constituencies. Code of Conduct. Let us see what is the Code of Conduct. The Code of Conduct is one of the measures adopted by the Election Commission to ensure free and fair elections in India. The Code of Conduct explains the rules that are to be followed by the government, political parties, and voters before elections and during elections. The Election Commission has used its powers to control malpractices during elections. Even the government cannot violate these rules. Due to its implementation, the common voters have become fearless and confident. Challenges in conducting free and fair elections. The first challenge is large geographical area and large number of voters. Indian democracy is considered the largest democracy in the world. Adult suffrage has given opportunity of political participation to the young generation in India. India has the largest number of voters compared to any other democratic nation. The size of our country and the large number of voters make the task of conducting elections challenging. The second challenge is misuse of money. Misuse of money takes place to a great extent during elections. Finance is needed during campaigns. There is a need to raise money or donations for the political campaigns. There is a limit put on the expenses of political parties. Money is needed for propaganda, banners, campaign vehicles, travel, etc. Conducting clean elections is one of the biggest challenges in the country given the prevalent abuse of money power, particularly when it manifests in inducements of voters. Election Commission has to take several measures to stop such a misuse of money. The third challenge is candidates with criminal background. Political parties give election tickets to candidates with criminal backgrounds. Directions have been given by the Apex Court that political parties should be accountable that any candidate with a criminal background should not be given tickets. This will be an effective mechanism to keep a check on criminalization of politics. This is an extremely disastrous and lamentable situation which leads to the Election Commission facing problems in ensuring that elections are conducted in a free environment. The fourth challenge is violence during elections. The incidence of electoral violence has grown along with Indian democracy. Elections, violence, hate and criminality have become intertwined over the decades. All political parties should help the Election Commission to control the violence. The fifth challenge is family monopoly in politics. Political family simply means that several members of the same family, whether related by blood or marriage, are involved in politics, regardless of the type of office. In order to keep the power within the family, political leaders give election tickets to their own relatives. This reduces democratic space. Common people cannot participate in the public sector. Monopoly in politics contributes itself to corruption and unethical activities on a wide scale. Next, we go to electoral reforms. Free and fair elections is an important indicator of India's successful democracy. Important provisions are made in the constitution so that people can easily secure justice and their freedom is safeguarded. The future of democracy depends on elections. Electoral process becomes reliable if election process gets improved. Some of the electoral reforms are: first, increase the participation of women. To increase the participation of women, the 73rd and 74th Amendment Act reserved 33% of seats for women in local self-governing institutions. The percentage has been raised to 50% in several states, and efforts are put in to see that they get elected. Participation will give the women a say in the decision-making process that can provide a different direction to politics. The second reform: candidates with criminal backgrounds should be disqualified. Political parties should not give election tickets to candidates having a criminal background. They should strictly follow the decision of the court. This will ensure that the elections are conducted in a free environment. The third reform: government should be in charge of election expenses. The government should keep an eye on the election expenses. They should ensure that money is not misused during this time. The Election Commission should put a limit on the expenses of the political parties to stop the mismanagement of money. The fourth reform: amend Representation of the People's Act. The Representation of the People's Act 1951 was introduced in the Parliament by the then Law Minister Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. This act is of special significance to the smooth functioning of Indian democracy, as it checks the entry of persons with criminal background into representative bodies. The Representation of People's Act 1951 was amended many times. It should be so amended that candidates having a criminal background would not be able to participate in elections. Now let us see, during elections, our journey from the ballot boxes to the EVM machines. We started with elections using the ballot boxes, and now we use the EVMs or the electronic voting machines. Let us see to our journey from ballot boxes to EVM machines. First, the first election in independent India was held in 1951-52. In the initial elections, ballot boxes were used for the purpose of voting. Second, the use of EVM machines started from the decade of 1990s. In 2010, it was decided to add a new facility, the VVPAT, that is, Voter Verified Paper Audit Trial, in EVM machines. Now, the voters can verify whether the vote cast is registered properly. The purpose of this important step is to stop malpractices in elections. The third point, Nota. Nota was made available to the people only because of the voting machine. This made a provision where if the voters do not want to vote for any candidate, they can choose the option of nota, that is, none of the above. Fourth, Divyang. EVMs had made it easy for disabled people or the Divyang to cast their vote. Fifth point, save paper. It has reduced the use of paper, thus reducing the cutting of trees and saving environment. Sixth, early declaration of results. EVMs have reduced the time needed for counting the votes. Thus, it has been possible to declare the election results early. Let us see to the types of elections. There are three types of elections. The first is general elections. Lok Sabha elections are held after every 5 years. The second is mid-term elections. If the elected government loses its majority before completing its term, or if the parties of the coalition government withdraw their support, resulting in the loss of majority, and no alternative government is possible, then elections are held before completion of the term. They are called mid-term elections. And the third is by-elections. If an elected representative in the Lok Sabha, Vidhan Sabha or the local self-government resigns or is no more, the elections are held for that vacant seat. This is called a by-election. We have come to the end of this chapter. In this chapter, we have learnt about the electoral process. We learnt about the election commission, its functions, and the challenges faced. We also see the journey from the ballot boxes to the EVM machines. I hope you have understood the entire electoral process. Thank you.